Namaskar and welcome to the third episode of the SAI International Podcast, where stories inspire. In today's episode, we are joined by the state topper in the Union Civil Services Examination, Ritika Rath. Ritika, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me
It's
today.
really nice talking to you. So my first question to you is, you did your 6th to 10th in SAI, and that's like such a formative part of your childhood. I think, what was your takeaway in this institution?
I think the greatest takeaway was that I forged long-standing friendships here. I learned the importance of of a family that is just that you form at the place you stay, be it your school, be it your later in college or everywhere. So I think that was definitely one. Some of my lifelong friends are from SAI. And definitely a lot of my skills and a lot of things that I do currently, be it writing, be it interest in reading, all of that I developed in SAI. So that's also a huge part of SAI has played in my life.
So did you think that probably successful people always talk about the fact that mentors had a huge impact in their life. While you have, in your time at SAI, did you feel like there were some teachers or some people who really left a mark on you?
Definitely. A lot of teachers left mark on me, and I feel that all of them had a big contribution to my personality per se. For example, I developed the love towards writing because of Yamini ma'am here. I started loving a subject I used to hate earlier, so I got over my fear of a subject because of Pavitra sir, which is maths. And then I learned how to live life from my French teacher, who was Jaisurya sir here. So I think all three of them played a huge role in my life, and that's why I've been in touch with them even after leaving school in 2017.
My next question to you would be about your childhood. I think our families, the people we grow up with, and you just talked about, the fact about lifelong friendships and what a bearing that has on a person's life. So, what did these relationships mean to you? I mean, in the sense that when you have a personal connection with somebody, some people tend to value experiences with them. Some people value conversation. What do you think is the one thing when you look at a person that this person really matters to me? I want to spend time with them.
I think it would be how genuine I can be with the person and how genuine the person is with me. And somewhere it's about how honest one can be with the other person. And you can be true yourself with that person. So for me it was that, and I think all of my friends that I formed here, we grew up together. Though we went to different places after our school, we still kept in touch. We still were great of friends because we grew together. So I think that's the beauty of friendship. It does not look at distances. It does not look at where you come from, where you go, but it's just about what connects two people together.
Yeah, I really want to build upon that last thing that you said, that connection. And I think for a lot of us, SAI represents that, because it doesn't matter where we go, but at the end of the day, this is the one thing that binds all of us together. And I think one thing that binds every SAIoneer is Chairman Sir and his speeches in the morning assemblies and all the things he used to say. So watching him, and if you ever interacted with him, can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Definitely, I've had the opportunity to interact with him many times during my schooling here. I think one of the most interesting parts of him were his speeches during assemblies, because he would always incorporate stories. And that's something I learned from him, that to make a speech interesting, you must have stories. You must have stories that hold people together. And I remember his speeches usually would be around one story. He would describe it, he would then talk about the value you can take from that, and that's how he would end it. So I loved that aspect, because I realized that storytelling has a huge power in making people remember what you want them to remember. So I remember that, and that's, I think, and personally also when I interacted with him, it was always an enriching experience. I learned so much from him. And I learned that you must always strive to go better and improve yourself more than what you were before.
I think one thing about Sir was that he was very humanizing. You would kind of come into school, into campus with this intention that, oh, he's the chairman, how is he going to talk to me? And then you would meet Sir, and some way he would already know your name and he would already remember it. and he would know what your interests were. And I think that's very interesting. And I think it tells us a lot about the kind of people we become later on. And now I want to talk about civil services, particularly the aspect that it comes with so much responsibility and obviously authority and power and everything that we associate in government. So I think it's always about how you wield it, and it's not about how much you have it, but how you use it. So how do you intend to use the platforms, the opportunities that come your way?
I think what you pointed out is very important. Authority by itself is neutral. There is never a good or bad authority. It's about how we use that authority, whether we use it for good or for bad. And my aim would be that when I work in an area, people remember me as an officer who was able to do so much, who did work which would benefit people, which brought a change in their lives, and not a temporary change but a permanent change, and something that can make an impact in the long run. So that's how I see authority. So I feel authority I look at it in a positive way where you can bring about a lot of change in other people's life, and that's how I feel it should be seen.
So it's like almost like a tool for mobilizing positive change.
True.
So that comes to my next question. That brings me to my next question. How to handle success? Because I think we always talk about handling failure, but people often forget how difficult it can be to process success and to process achievement. And obviously, there must have been a time you opened and saw your rank and all that. So immediately when it hits you, how do you process that? How do you kind of come to terms with, all right, I put in so much hard work, but now I have to live with that? So
I feel my first reaction in that was just being grateful. I realized that I have put in effort. I realize a lot of people who give the exam do put in effort. There are a lot of other circumstances because of which their names do not come. Many times it's beyond their control, and that's why at that point when I saw my name, I just felt grateful. I just felt that I have been fortunate enough to have my name there, and I always feel that definitely I put in effort. Definitely a lot of people put in effort, but I feel one should always be grateful and humble when one has achieved a lot or has achieved anything. Because that's how we will stay grounded, that's how we will be who we were. Because when we get something we want, we shouldn't forget who we were before we got it. There are a lot of people, you just shouldn't become somebody else just because one new name has been added or a new job has been done. You should be the person you were, you should be the same approachable person, you should be the same person you were before. Definitely a lot more responsibility comes on you, and you must stand up and rise up to that responsibility. But it should always be in the good. It should always be in a good sense.
yeah, and I think what is very interesting was that you talked about how a designation doesn't define you. And when I was reading about you, I saw that you had a job and then you quit for UPSC preparation. That's a huge decision to make because you already were, in such a prestigious management institution, and you already had this career going for you. So why the sudden, people would perceive it as sudden. Why was that shift? What prompted you to go into it, to civil prep?
I always feel that I wanted to do something for which I felt motivated, I felt passionate about. And that's the reason I decided I didn't want to do an MBA. I felt that I didn't want to do an MBA when I felt I was not ready for it. I wanted to join the civil services, work for the people, and that's why I decided that this is something I want to do. And I think even when I left it, there were times definitely when you doubt your decision, you feel like you might not have taken the right decision. But at the end of the day, when I think what the alternative could have been, I always think that no, the decision, when I took that decision, I took it with a certain sense of understanding. Just because I have the benefit of hindsight now, I can't discredit the decision I took when I didn't have the benefit of hindsight that I had then. So I always knew that this is something I want to do in my life, and even if this is something I don't succeed at least I'll leave with the satisfaction that I have done my best, and to my best ability I have done it. So I always took it like that. So that was my view on it.
Last question. You took philosophies as one of your papers, and I find that so interesting. So could you tell me perhaps 3 philosophers who constantly inspire you? And I also heard that you write poetry, which was such a moment of relatability for me because I write it as well. So one line of poetry which you feel really resonates with you.
So regarding the first part, which is philosophy, I think the philosophy I follow the most is Advait Vedant by Shankaracharya. In short, if I have to say, it means that everything, there is only one Brahm, or there is one entity, and everything is that one entity. So we are no distinct from it. So we are the walls, we are the universe, everything is us. And I think that's beautiful because it tells you to look at divinity in everybody. The moment you say that everybody is me and I am everybody, you don't draw that distinction that this is me, this is you. And therefore you look at everybody as being divine. There is divinity in everybody. That's the message I really liked about that philosophy. Wow. And that's very important when you're working for people, because you see them as divine, you see them not as distinct from you.
Someone special.
Yeah, you see them as a part of you, therefore you don't feel that they're any different from me. So that other feeling is not there. Second philosophy I really liked was, if you look at Western philosophy, I really liked Immanuel Kant's philosophy. I'll not go into detail because it can be a little technical. But I liked his philosophy because he was the one who, sorry?
On equality.
No, his philosophy regarding, so that's a little, if I go into it, it'll become too philosophical. But the point is, I liked his philosophy because before him, there were two major currents of thought. And he was able to merge both the currents of thought and give a new philosophy.
Wow.
And that I thought, and both of them were opposite. They were like light and dark. And then he somehow got them together in the form of dawn or dusk. So that's what I found so beautiful, that he was able to do something like that. So I liked the approach he did. His philosophy may be something different, I might not agree, but I liked the approach he followed. And third philosophy I would say is Jainism. I think Jainism I would put in second and Immanuel Kant third. The reason being that Jainism says there's a philosophy called Anekantvad, which means the theory of manyness of reality, which means that there is no one reality. There are different aspects of the same reality, depending on where you're standing, what you're perceiving. So, which means, for example, there's a very common example. Imagine there's a 6 and there's one person standing at the head and the other person standing at the tail. One will say it's the number 6, the other one will say it's the number 9. So which one is true? So Jainism here says that both of them are true if you look at it from their point of view. And that I think helps you tolerate others' point of view. You realize when they are saying something, that means they're saying it from their point of view, their circumstances, and that's also important in civil services or in life anywhere. You empathize with others. You realize if somebody is sharing their grievances, there must be a genuine concern. It's not correct to just dismiss it as not having any value. So that I feel is the second, and third would be Immanuel Kant. And in terms of poem, I think, so I recited almost 4-stanza poem in my interview when I was asked.
Wow.
So I will not go through the whole poem, it's pretty long, but there's, I think, one line that I really liked about it. So the poem as a whole is on wind. Wind. So I wanted to use wind as a metaphor to show how nature as itself does not discriminate between people. So one stanza says, the wind gives itself to one and all, from flying birds to creatures that crawl. It treats the obscure and the ones with fame as like nature all the same. So what I liked about this stanza is that it tells you that you must judge a person by what they are rather than what they have achieved or their fame or their position. It's important to judge a person by what they are, and how wind or natural elements in general don't distinguish between people just based on their status or their social position.
Thank you so much. This is one of my favorite interviews that I've done.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for this interview.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the SAI International Podcast.